Algebra 2, Chapter 5.3, exercises 9 through 16. We've been working on systems of equations with free variables, and in this exercise set 9 through 16, we're going to go over some real-world problems. And I'm going to do in this set the odd number problems 9, 11, 13, and 15, and discuss briefly a little bit about some of the others. In this first problem here, 9 is part of the ongoing series that has to do with solving this system of equations using the method of your choice. Well, when solving systems of equations, the choice I usually like to take, if I can, is elimination. So that's what I'm going to do, elimination. And basically, I like to set it up that we add equations together. And I happen to notice in the second and third equation, I'm gonna erase these numbers 1, 2, and 3 because they kind of confuse me sometimes. So I'm going to take this second and third equation, and I'm going to add these together. So I put parentheses around the third one and a plus sign. So we have x plus 5x is 6x, and we have negative 5y plus y is going to be negative 4y, and then 2z minus 2z is going to be 0, so I'm not even going to write that, and then 19 plus 5 is 24. So that's one of the reduced equations we're going to use. And now I'm going to take this top equation here, and what I'm going to do is kind of work to the right, and I'm going to take 2 times this equation here and move it to the right with this arrow. So 2 times 3x is 6x, and then 2 times 4y is going to be plus 8y, and then 2 times negative z is going to be negative 2z, and then 2 times negative 7 is going to be negative 14. And I'm going to move this second equation right underneath the first one. So I'm going to put x minus 5y plus 2z, and then we have equals 19. And now, just like I did to get that first eliminated z equation, I'm going to add this second one. So we have 6x plus x is 7x. So 7x, and 8y minus 5y is going to be plus 3y, and then negative 2z plus 2z is 0. And then finally, at the right, we have negative 14 plus 19 is going to be 5. And so now we have these two equations left. 6x minus 4y equals 24, and 7x plus 3y equals 5. What I'm going to do is write this second equation right underneath this. So I'll write 7x plus 3y is equal to 5. Okay, and so I don't see anything we can readily cancel, but what I'm going to do is take these two equations here, and I'm going to engineer it to eliminate the y's, and we have negative 4y on top and 3y at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is take the product of 4 and 3, which is 12, and we're going to multiply this top equation by 3. And let me, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and, I'm just going to multiply by 3. There we go. And the bottom equation, I'm going to multiply by 4. And then I'm going to come to the right here with these two arrows that I'm making. So we have 3 times 6x is going to be 18x. And 3 times negative 4y is going to be negative 12y. And 3 times 24 is going to be 72. And now for this equation below, we have 4 times 7x is going to be 28x. And then 4 times 3y is going to be plus 12y. And finally, 4 times 5 is going to be 20. And now we're going to add these two equations. And so we have 18 plus 28. Well, that's going to be 46x. 18x plus 28x is going to be 46x. And then negative 12y plus 12y is 0. And on the right side, we have 72 plus 20 is going to be 92. So now we have 46x equals 92. Well, if we divide both sides of this equation by 46, we end up with x is equal to 92 over 46, or 2. So that's going to be our first unknown that we've solved for. And then we can come back to this. I'm going to take this 2, this x equals 2 over here. I'm placing this x here, I'm arrowing over to it now. So we have 7 times 2 for x plus 3y is equal to 5. And so we have 14 plus 3y is equal to 5. Subtracting 14, we have 3y is equal to negative 9. And dividing by 3, we have y is equal to negative 3. So that's going to be our second one. And finally, I'm going to take this top equation here, or I can take any one. I'll take this bottom one. I'm going to take this 5x, I'm just going to write it out, 5x plus y minus 2z is equal to 5. And just replace with 2 being x, so 5 times 2 plus negative 3 for y minus 2 times z, which we haven't figured out yet, is equal to 5. And so on the left, 10 minus 3 is going to be 7. So 7 minus 2z is equal to 5. And subtracting 7, we have, I'm just going to go to the right here to make sure we have room. So we have negative 2z is equal to negative 2. And dividing by negative 2, we have z is equal to 1. So that's what we're going to have. We have the coordinate triple, or ordered triple. And that's going to be x is 2, comma, y is negative 3, comma, z is 1. So that's what it is. And we can quickly verify here. So check our equations. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 4 times negative 3, that's going to be minus 12. And then minus z for 1, minus 1, should be negative 7. So 6 minus 12 is negative 6 minus 1 is negative 7. Check. And then the second equation, we have 2 minus 5 times negative 3, so that's going to be 2 plus 15 plus 2 times 1. So 2 plus 15 plus 2 is equal to 19. Check. And our last equation, 5x, is going to be 5 times 2 plus negative 3 minus 2 times 1 should equal 5. And is that the case? Check it out. 10 minus 3 is 7, minus another 2 is 5. Check. So this is going to be our coordinate triple or ordered triple right here. Okay, next, before we go on to this problem 11, 10, find the equation of the parabola passing through the points 3, 7, 30, 11, and 0, negative 1. What you can use for this is the standard form of a quadratic equation, which what a parabola does. It's going to be f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And what you're going to be able to do is use this standard form of a quadratic function to create 3 equations with the 3 unknowns a, b, and c and solve that system. So I'll just go on to 11. Geometry. In triangle ABC, the measure of angle x is 8 times the sum of the measures of angles y and z. So what I'm going to do is and then we have the measure of angle y is 3 times the measure of angle z. What are the measures of the angles? So basically what we need to do here is translate this English into algebra. What we have is when we say there's certain words that mean things in algebra, one of which is. Is an equal sign. So the measure of angle x, we can write that as x is equal 8 times, I'm going to put in parentheses, it says the sum. And so what when you say the sum of, you're putting the next 2 things in parentheses of the measures of the angles y and z. Okay, so that's basically just translating this first sentence into algebra. And next one here, the measure of angle y is, again, that's an equal sign. So we say y equals 3 times, which is going to be 3z. And what are the measures of the angles? And so basically what we have here is 2 equations with but we have 2 equations and 3 unknowns. Are we going to be okay with this? No, we're not. We need 3 equations. So what is our other equation? What do we know? Because we can't solve. We place y in here. I'm going to get x equals 8, and then replace y with 3z. Are we going to have everything figured out? No, we're not. What other equation do we need? What do you know about a triangle? Well, you know that the measures of angle A, B, and C, which we're going to call the 3 angles respectively are x, y, and z, we know that x plus y plus z are going to be equal to what? 180. So we had to know that. So now we have 3 equations with 3 unknowns. The first thing I'm going to do is take this y equals 3z. So we have x is equal to 8. And I'm going to put in the place of this y here, I'm going to put 3z plus z. And so what we have is x is equal to 8 times 3z plus z is going to be 4z. And so what we have is x is equal to 32z. Okay, that's going to be a big difference in there. Okay. So next, we have this equation here, x plus y plus z is equal to 180. We can get rid of this z also in this equation by replacing y with 3z. And then we have plus z is equal to 180. So now we have x plus 4z is equal to 180. And so now we have two equations with two unknowns, and we can replace this x here with 32z. So we have 32z plus 4z is equal to 180. And so that's going to be 32 plus 4 is 36. We have 36z equals 180. And now if we divide by 36, we're going to have the solution for angle z. So it doesn't come readily to mind what that number is. So I'm going to resort to my TI-Nspire, my TI-84 CE calculator and take 180 divided by 36, and we get 5. So we have 5 degrees. So z equals 5 degrees. And next, we're going to go ahead and take y equals 3z. So y is equal to 3 times 5 degrees. And that's going to be equal to 15 degrees. So y equals 15 degrees. And then the last one, we can use that original equation here, x plus y plus z equals 180, and substituting in for y and z, x plus 15 degrees for y plus 5 degrees for z is equal to 180. And when we subtract, so we have x plus 20 degrees equals 180, and then we can subtract 20. So x is equal to 160 degrees. And the last thing you can do is go back and check to make sure that you are right. If we take y plus z, that's going to be 20. 8 times 20 is 160, check. 3 times 5 is 15, check. All these 3 add up to 180 degrees. 5 plus 15 plus 160. Okay, let's go on here. Okay, this 12, you have a nice little problem here. Combined age of three relatives, 120 years. So you have James you have James, Dan, and Paul. So you can just set these variables as J, D, and P, and then you can just go ahead and set up the equations and work them out similar to what we did in problem 11. Okay, 13, economics. At a stock exchange, there were a total of 1,000 shares sold in one day. And basically you have stock A, stock B, and stock C. And so what you have is all three denominations add together. So you have stock A plus B plus C. They're going to be equal to 10,000. Okay? Stock A had, and had would be an equal sign. So stock A equals 4 times what B is. And then finally, this one here, the number of shares sold for stock C, so C was equal to, so I'm going to put an equal sign there, the sum of the number of shares sold for stock A and B. It doesn't say how many times, no times the number, so we'll just say A plus B. And we should have 3 equations with 3 unknowns. And if we look at it, this is quite similar to what we worked out in that geometry problem in problem 11, isn't it? So we'll go ahead and take this 4B in for A. So I'm going to put this right here. So C is going to be equal to 4B plus B. And so that's going to be combined. C is going to be equal to 5B. Okay? So, and A is equal to 4B. And so we have something solved for A and for B. So I'm going to take this A plus B plus C and substitute 4B for A. See that? A equals 4B plus B. We haven't solved for B yet. Plus 5B for C. And so these represent these terms here, A, B, and C. And these are all equal to 10,000 shares. And we add all these up, 4 plus 1 plus 5, well, that's going to be 10B is equal to 10,000. Well, if we divide by 10, we know that we have how many shares sold of B? B is going to be equal to 1,000. Okay, and C is equal to 5 times B, and B is 1,000. So that's going to be 5,000 shares. So C is equal to 5,000 shares. And finally, we don't have A yet, but A is equal to 4B. So A is equal to 4 times 1,000. And so A is equal to 4,000 shares. Now, as a last check, do all the shares add up to 10,000? They better. 1,000 plus 5,000 plus 4,000 equals 10,000. So these are going to be correct answers for us. So again, very similar to working out a problem number 11. Okay, 14.1, UK mathematics, we go to 15. A student was asked to solve this system of equations using matrices. Find and correct the student's error. I'm going to make this a little bit larger here. Okay. What we have is this system, and how is this one in error? We went to matrices. Well, what you really need for this is, looks like we have 5x plus 7y plus 9z equals 0. And so what you need is another column with 0 over here, and then x minus y plus z equals -3. So you're going to have -3 over here, and finally 8x plus 1y, and there's no z, so that's 0 equals 12. And so in reality, you need an augmented matrix with not only the coefficients of the equation on the left side, you need to have the unknowns on the right side. So what you're going to have is 5, 7, 9, and 0 for the first row. And then we have 1, -1, and 1, and then -3. And finally, we have 8, 1, 0, and 12. And so that's going to be the thing worked out. Now, one thing I'm going to do as a bonus here is use the matrix feature on the TI-84 CE series calculator to solve this system of equation using matrices and get into reduced row echelon form. And what that's going to look like is this. We're going to have 1, 0, 0, then some number. We're going to have 0, 1, 0, another number. And finally, the last row is going to be in form 0, 0, 1, and then some number in the last. And these last three numbers on the right are going to be the value of x here. I'm just going to put x to the side. Y here, and z here. And let's go to the calculator. And I'm going to go to clear this out and go to matrix, which is second matrix, and go over here to edit. When I go to edit, we're going to put in a 3x4 matrix. So I'm going to put 3, enter, 4, enter. And now we're going to put in those values, which are 5, enter, 7, enter, 9, enter, 0, enter. It just takes you through the matrix here. 1, enter, -1, enter, 1, enter, -3, enter, and finally 8, enter, 1, enter, 0, enter, 12, enter. And so we have all these entered here. And I'm going to clear out my screen. To do that, I'm going to press second quit. So I have a blank screen. If you don't clear out make your screen blank, you could have an error message. So now I'm going to go back to matrix, second matrix, and go down to math. And I'm going to go down to this option B, which is RREF, which stands for reduced row echelon form. Press enter, and so we get this here with the cursor blinking. I'm going to go back to matrix one last time, second matrix, and we enter an extra in number 1, this matrix here, right, 3x4. It's already entered and saved, so I go to names and press enter, and it goes right in here. And we're going to close this off with a final closing parentheses and press enter. And what we get is x equals 1.25, y equals 2, and z equals -2.25. So 1.25, 1.25, 2, and negative 2.25. So that's just a bonus here, and so x is equal to 1.25, y is equal to 2, and z is equal to negative 2.25. Make sure I got this right. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, that's going to be our answer. And we got this critical thinking, this last one. Okay, well, I hope this video lesson has been helpful to you. Good luck, and thanks for viewing.